We welcome now Ben Milam, Multimedia Journalist, SuperTalk Mississippi News.
Hey, Gerard, how are you?
All right, Ben, what's going on, man? So give us an update here. The St. Patty's Day killer. Yeah, that's been a story that's had a lot of life the last year. Tell us about that. What happened?
Yeah, it has, and this is, this has been a case and a trial that it's been pretty chaotic, especially the trial part of it, which we've covered over these last 2 weeks. But on Monday of this week, Jordan Cummins was sentenced to 2 life sentences. He was found guilty last week of the murder of Joshua Spann and Jubilee Simpkins. Those sentences will be served concurrently. And the chaos that I mentioned, if people are not aware, again, we've covered it pretty extensively. But last week, his mother, Angie Kellum, was arrested for witness tampering at the beginning of that trial, and his girlfriend, Jenny Lukens, was also arrested and charged with hindering prosecution during this case. And so this is what you would hope would be the end of this, but we expect it to kind of be an ongoing story. Bill Kellum, who is not related to his mother, says he plans to file an appeal in this case. So we expect this to be an ongoing thing, and hopefully there is some resolution relatively soon. We've not gotten any other further information beyond the fact that they plan to appeal this, but what the jury feels like is a just sentence, 2 just sentences of life in prison to be served concurrently.
So what about this video that's surfaced?
That was what we heard was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back in a way. One of the big things that swayed or solidified the jury's opinion. The video was actually from prison. Jordan Cummins put it out the second time he was arrested, basically admitting to these 2 murders. And the big conversation and the claim of Jordan Cummins' defense was that this was a matter of self-defense, that these citizens that stepped in, they said it was to break up abuse, Jordan Cummins abusing his girlfriend, Jenny Lukens, and Cummins' team was saying it was self-defense, that they pulled weapons first, but and that was what Jenny Lukens corroborated in her testimony. But you go back to the fact that Jordan Cummins released a video in prison that he basically admitted to killing these people. That was really difficult for the defense to get past and to convince the jury, that was not. There was no weight to that. It was really hard to get past, and eventually that led to the guilty verdict and the sentencing of 2 life sentences. And I would imagine even if it does get appealed, that's going to be something they continue to return to.
Yeah. Man, this is really bizarre. I wonder what the impact will be on future St. Patty's Day parades and so forth.
Yeah, that's a great question. It was actually a couple of blocks away from the parade, so it wasn't as if it was in the midst of the parade, which you're thankful for that. It's that could have been a lot messier if it was, but I would imagine maybe it heightened security a little bit. He was said to be pretty intoxicated at the time, and so that's something I would imagine those that are in charge of the security of that parade would probably keep an eye on over these next few years.
We are not technically a border state. Mississippi isn't, not the way that California, Arizona, Texas, New Mexico are, for example. But there's still a lot of craziness that happens at that border that ends up dispersing out throughout the country. Mississippi, no stranger to that as well. So tell us about the story you guys are tracking that involves 2 Arizona men. They've been sentenced for bringing drugs into Mississippi, including fentanyl. What's up?
Sure. Just one quick note to go back quickly to the Jordan Cummins story, the St. Patty's Day Parade. You mentioned that. Note from our news director, J.T. Mitchell, the parade still saw huge attendance this year. That did not dampen things, and we expect that to continue over the next few years.
Good.
Just wanted to throw that in there. But, yeah, you mentioned it. A pair of Arizona men were arrested on drug trafficking charges in Mississippi, drug trafficking to Mississippi. Omar Villacorta and Enrique Rivera from Arizona, originated in California, were caught with 110 pounds of meth and 3 kilograms of fentanyl in Batesville, Mississippi. And this was prosecuted by the U.S. Attorney's Office in the North District of Mississippi. Clay Joyner, the U.S. Attorney there, mentioned that this was one of the largest drug seizures in the Northern District of Mississippi history. And this is not an isolated thing. You know, we've covered 3 different drug trafficking stories, 2 on the coast, 1 here in North Mississippi, just this week. This is an ongoing issue, and something certainly we're not just talking about. Certainly not just a Mississippi issue. But you're exactly right. I mean, a lot of those states where this is an origination problem, if you want to call it that, it's affecting the rest of the country. It's not as if it's isolated to those states where they're either making this stuff or it's coming across the border. It's affecting places a long way away, like Mississippi. And this is a case where, you could call this good news, where you confiscated a whole lot of narcotics and put 2 men behind bars, 2 middle-aged men, 40-plus men behind bars. Rivera was sentenced to 16 years and 18 months. Villacorta sentenced to 19 years and 5 months. And so that's, one of the primary ways you combat this is by putting those bad actors that are behind this behind bars.
Interesting. Well, I think the good news about the state of Mississippi is we do expect law enforcement to enforce the laws.
Absolutely.
And so these folks come into this state and they're breaking the law, and they get charged appropriately, arrested, and hopefully they'll be convicted and or have they been convicted yet?
They have been convicted.
Okay, they've already been convicted
and sentenced.
Okay, yeah. So again, the law was upheld and properly applied, and I think that's the good news here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't come to Mississippi with this nonsense. All right, so what else we got going on? Record unemployment rate. Governor Tate Reeves.
That's right. Making
a big splash about that as well. He should.
Absolutely, he should. And this comes on the heels of a lot of really good economic news. We've talked about, of course, the AWS, the Amazon Web Services facility in Canton and the Jackson area, $10 billion, the largest investment in history, and record unemployment rates. The rate started, it was about 3.5% in March of last year, and has month over month started to slowly decrease every single month. Record high total non-farm employment, which is a big deal for Mississippi, of just over 1.1 million jobs, and right at 34,500, a little over 34,500 Mississippians are unemployed. That's a record low 2.8% unemployment rate, and this is a trend now. You do it for a year plus, continually, month over month, continuing to see decreases. We certainly hope to see that employment rate increase. But to be able to call this a trend is really good news for Mississippi. And again, it's a piece of a lot of really good economic news for the state of Mississippi.
Yeah, it's different than the labor participation rate, and that's just based on how that figure is calculated. Both of them are calculated by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, but there's some nuance in the way those figures are actually produced in the data that they collect to produce those metrics. But that's good news for the state of Mississippi, and the governor is pretty pleased with that.
And I think he should be, as you mentioned. I mean, there's just a lot of momentum in the state of Mississippi. I think you see those. These multiple large economic investments from external businesses and corporations coming into the state. I would imagine these employment numbers are probably a large part of that, or a large part of what these legislators and businessmen in Mississippi are using to attract big investments like that, and hopefully that continues.
Yeah, no doubt about that. You mentioned the AWS project. We interviewed the AWS Government Affairs Vice President Shannon Kellogg yesterday on the program. And he was talking about the incredible investment they're making in the state of Mississippi and just how pleased they are to be partnering with the state of Mississippi. But, they're hiring a bunch of people right now. I just, for the heck of it, checked out their website. where they list all the job opportunities specifically.
Well-paying jobs.
Yeah, very high-paying jobs, and just a variety of positions. So, folks, if you're looking for work, it's like, I feel like, Ben, I want to connect these 34,605 people to that job
Just
site.
send them to that website. Yeah,
exactly.
Go work at Amazon.
And there are many others as well, as you well know.
Absolutely.
So,
Yes, sir.
All right, before you go, quickly, tell us about this cockroach. Got just a few seconds.
Oh, big old cockroach. 70-foot steel cockroach is going to be an artificial reef in the Gulf of Mexico at the end of July. And Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, Bay Pest Control was part of putting that on. It's going to be welded to an 150-foot tugboat and sunk 100 feet into the ocean. Going to be an artificial reef.
Appreciate you coming in, Ben.
Yes,
Thanks.
sir. Always a pleasure.
We're coming right back in the Element Well studio. Stay with us.